Hi everyone and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes podcast. My name is Audrey and this is a nitty yarny podcast from the southwest of France. Losing my voice after one sentence. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you are all doing very well. I will have a very knitting episode this week. I only have knitting content and a little bit of a yarn show as well. And I have a new pattern release to announce. You can find timestamps to all the different sections of the podcast in the description down below, so if you want to skip anything, feel free to jump ahead. There will also be links to everything that I talk about, as well as my social media, pattern for sale on Ravelry, etc. I apologize for the dead carnation today, but yeah, I don't know what happened. I guess the light is a bit blue, so it's making it even worse. So my finished object for this week is actually a new pattern that I released on Ravelry, and ta-da! So these are the Little People socks. I've been talking about them for a few episodes now, so I will just quickly again. This is a really easy pattern that makes this really cool rugged kind of pitty fabric on the outside, and I wanted something that will work with variegated yarns, variegated or speckled. And you know, I very much like really graphic, cabley, geometric shapes, but they're not really flattering for these types of yarn. So I wanted to try something that I could use for a lot of different types of sock yarn that I have. And I am super happy with the result. This is just, I love it. It's very different because it's like a very textural thing as opposed to one clean motif. But I really love it. So as you can see, it's like a really pitted kind of fabric with, you can still see some vertical lines going down. And it's really easy to work, really short repeats, so yeah, you don't have to sit for a long time to make one full repeat, and after a while it's pretty easy to see where you're at in case you didn't end a full repeat. So I did a twisted rib at the top because I thought it would flatter best this type of fabric. I include, in all my stock patterns, I include two heel options. So, two heel options. So, a heel flap and gusset, which is what I did here because it's what fits me best. And I also give instructions to make a German short row heel, if you prefer that. On this pattern, I included this toe shaping, which I think is really fun. It's like a centered kind of graphic thing, which makes it look, when you wear it, it's really comfortable, and basically you don't have these bumps on the sides that you sometimes have with your toe decreases, and it makes a really smooth toe basically, and I just think it was really fun. What's really great about this texture is, so you see how it looks outside, it looks a bit like rough and really hard wearing and kind of an earthy thing, but on the inside you have this pillow of floats. It's sort of like a color work inside basically. It's really soft and smooth and it makes a super thick fabric, so definitely good pair if you're usually cold. And the thing is, you know, with color work, since you have those floats at the back, well, the socks don't have the usual give that you have. You can't really work with a negative ease like you usually do, but these still stretch a bit. So, and since the pattern stretches, it makes the fabric a bit wider, plus it has some give, So you can definitely work with your regular stitch counts. I included stitch counts from 56 stitches to 72 stitches, and every four stitches between those two. So you can really pick the size that you usually do, and I believe that it will make a good fit. I did 64 stitches for me. When I want a really snug stockinette, I do 60 stitches, so these are a bit more comfortable for me. They're really comfortable. These are the most comfortable socks I own, and I think it also has to do with the Mondim sock yarn that I use. So this is Retrosaria Mondim, which is the 100% Portuguese wool sock yarn, and it's awesome. If you have been afraid of using sock yarns that don't have nylon, really, if you can get your hands on these, yeah, you can get it from Rosa Pomar website directly. She ships from Portugal. Or if you're French, I don't think she ships worldwide, I'm not sure about that. But La Naille Tricot, which is French physical local yarn shop and online shop based in Grenoble in France, they carry Mondim. And oh my god, it's such a hard-wearing, strong yarn, and it just worked perfectly for this design. I don't know with what luck I was able to do that, because it's just so perfect. It works like the colors. This is the color 208. It just fits the mood of this sock so well, but the texture as well. It has a slight halo and it's a really tough yarn, so it just fits this design perfectly. And on the inside you have this pillow, super soft, that, yeah, it just feels softer basically than if I would have made a stockinette sock with this yarn. It is a soft yarn. It's not rough at all. It's softer than opal, for example. It's softer than my sock yarn that I carry. That is a rustic sock yarn that I hand dye for Etsy. And yeah, it just fits this texture really well, and I'm really happy with it. So definitely try the Mondim sock yarn if you can. But I'm very curious to see how it would look in like your standard merino speckled sock yarn. I think it would make like really delicate socks, and I think I will definitely try it for future socks. It would be quite manly as well, I think. Like obviously these colors are a bit pinkish, but I think it would be a nice pattern texture for a man as well. Might do some for my boyfriend, pick a manly type of yarn and put that texture on it, because I think he would really like it, because it really makes thick socks. So Little People socks. Little People, because I am a Haruki Murakami fan, and the 1Q84 trilogy is one of my favorite stories ever. And the Little People, which are sort of a magical entity, like a bunch of creatures in the 1Q84 trilogy, yeah, they're like a Niri presence, and very bounded to nature. Bounded, is that a word? Bound to nature. So I just kept thinking about it while I was making these, because I found that the really rough, natural countryside kind of feel of this fabric was really appropriate. So the Little People socks, they are live on Ravelry, and as usual I have release sales, so they are 20% off until this Sunday, April 15th, I believe. And yeah, the link is in the description. And I want to thank everyone who already was so enthusiastic about this pattern and gave me some really nice feedback. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what you guys here on YouTube think. And yeah, I am really loving this socks. I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of them because, yeah, I achieved something that is super comfortable for me. So yeah, that is my FO for this week. On to whips, and I'm gonna start with my sweater. I am working on my Tecumseh sweater, which is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. And I have just separated body and sleeves. Yay! So, this is the Tecumseh sweater from Caitlin Hunter, which is this boxy colorwork design. And so the original pattern is knit in decay yarn. I am using fingering weight, so I'm knitting at a loose gauge. And this is where I'm at. I've done 2 of the 3 colorwork bands, and I really like it. I love working on it. It goes so fast for such a big sweater. I am knitting the medium size, and if you remember last time I was a bit concerned that I wouldn't get a boxy fit, even though I am using fingering weight yarn, but the gauge is 22 stitches per 10 centimeter, which is okay for fingering it. It makes a loose gauge, and it's definitely looking a bit uneven in places, but I know that when I will block it, it will work. And but I was still concerned that it was too small, and I actually, since I separated, now you can see I separated body and sleeve, and it fits. It's going to be so oversized and comfortable. It's going to be great. I am about to finish my first ball of the main color, and I will just keep going on the body. The body and the sleeves are going to be quite short to make because the yoke is very long. The yoke depth is supposed to be around 30 centimeters, so it definitely goes quite low under your arm. I don't mind it because for me, since this is an oversized garment, I'm not going to wear it under coats in the winter. I did it in fingering weight as well because I wanted something lighter. So it's definitely going to be more of a spring, autumn, home sweater, so I can just use it sort of an outer garment, you know? So no coat needed, so I don't mind that the yoke is really deep. I cannot wait to block this because, as you can see, and this is just how the design is because of the yoke increases that are really harsh. Like it's looking a bit messy where I increased, so it's not looking super pretty or super pretty right now. So I really can't wait to block it and to see everything smooth out and to have a better looking fabric, because right now it looks like I just started knitting because my gauge is really loose and uneven, and the increases make those big points all around. But I think blocking will fix it, I hope. Yeah, like I said, it goes so fast. I haven't been working on that intensively, and look at everything that I've done. I think it's such a really quick sweater. And the colorwork keeps you interested. Like when you start one band of colorwork, you just kind of want to finish it. They're not that long, even though, well, before you separate body and sleeves, I had 360 stitches, I believe. So it was quite long, but you know, I did that in one afternoon, like those bits here where you have the most stitches. And now the body is a bit smaller, so it feels like it's zooming by. Can't wait to wear this. I am using, so the main color is just an undyed merino superwash sock yarn, which is also why the fabric is so uneven, because it's not something that ties really well. The stitches don't like make a cohesive fabric as much, so that's why I need to block it to even things out. And so this is my main color. As contrast colors, I am using Heartland by Woolen Boon, which is absolutely gorgeous. I'm probably going to have quite a lot of this left, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but you know. And this is the beautiful and amazing Pocion by Malabrigo. It's their Malabrigo sock. And yeah, I am really happy with how the colorwork is working on these. My crosses do look like crosses, even though the yarn is quite variegated. So I like it. I really like it. Yeah, I'm in this situation where I really want to finish it because of the how much it needs blocking to look 100% good, and I really hope it will after. So yeah, but at least it does fit really loosely. So there's that. If you remember last time, I showed you this yarn, which is Ullcentrum, which is a Swedish sport weight yarn in the lavender colorway, and I just love it. And I am using it for a test knit, so obviously I'm not going to show you too much, but it's for a pair of socks. And so I'm just going to show you the back, hiding the cuff. So I finished one sock, and I really love the stitch pattern on these socks. Well, she showed it on her. It's a pattern from Hannah-Lisa, which is on the Hannah on the Road podcast, and she showed it on her podcast, and she said we could tease a little bit, so I'm just going to tease. Whoop! There it is. I really love it. It looks so intricate, and it really looks good, and it has some really original stitches, something I've never done before, which is really cool to work. Really easy to adapt to if you want to use a separate cable needle, or I found a way to do it quickly, and it's something quite unique, and I love them, and I love the effect that they give. However, I'm having some issues with the sizes and the gauge, and we're working on that with her. Basically, I'm using a sport weight yarn, which is what the pattern calls for, and for her sample she used Oysters and Pearls sock yarn, and it's the same meterage to weight ratio than Ullcentrum. But the thing is, my gauge is really loose. I'm on the gauge of the pattern, and I find that it's super loose for socks. Like if I stretch it, you see it's like really stretching the stitches, and it's not making a strong fabric. It's too loose for socks for me, especially since I'm using like a pure natural yarn, and I don't want them to wear out, because I think that this yarn and the pattern really matches. So my gauge is, I find, too loose for a sock, and I'm knitting size 2, and they're too small. I can put them on my feet, but the instep is way too tight, even though they do have I did the heel flap and gusset. The instep is way too tight. I'm not used to making sport weight yarn, so I don't have much idea on this, on the stitch counts that you need. But it's way too loose, and I think that even if I went up and I knit the largest size that she has, I think it wouldn't be much more comfortable. And since I usually am on the smaller side of the sock size spectrum, yeah, I don't know what's up, because I'm on gauge. Yeah, I just find that it's too loose and that the size isn't quite right. But yeah, we're working on that with her. I think that something that would be awesome is knit these in decay. I think her numbers and sizes will work perfectly with decay yarn. And yes, so I'm gonna make the pair like this for the test at the sport weight gauge, and then I'm going to I already started actually, because I'm making I'm making the second sock according to the pattern for the test and my own thing at the same time. I just want to stick the pattern on more of a fingering weight gauge. So I cast on 60 stitches, and I'm getting, yeah, you see this This is the fabric I like for socks. And if I do that again, you're going to see the difference. It's very hard not to show you completely the pattern. But yeah, you can see the difference of the gauge. I think this is way too weak for socks, for me personally. And yeah, so I'll finish the pair for the test, and you know, I have enough yarn, I think, and I'll see. I think they will wear out really fast if I keep it like this. And they're really tight on my insteps, so they're not looking the best when I'm actually wearing them. But one thing to say is that at this gauge they knit up so fast. I knit it in like one day. So I think, yeah, DK weight is probably a good idea for this. And I just love this stitch pattern so much, so that's why I'm making a second pair already. I haven't finished the first pair, I'm making a second pair, and I'm just sticking her gorgeous stitch pattern on a 60 stitch sock that I'm knitting at I think I have 7 stitches per inch, which is a bit bigger than my regular sock gauge, just normal because it's a sport weight. And I think this is going to be just fine. But yeah, I don't know when she will release the pattern. The deadline for the test knit is April 22nd. So I think it won't be much longer after that. But yeah, and I just love it. I really love the pattern. I'm stretching it because when you stretch it, it looks really good. But yeah, I have gauge issues. But that's fine. And the yarn is great. So like I said, this is 100% Swedish wool. Yeah, I think this yarn needs to be a colorwork sweater, and they have a range of colors that is absolutely beautiful, and that they are slightly gray, which gives them a really interesting depth. My last work in progress is a new cast on, and it's a pair of colorwork mittens. So I found on Etsy a while ago hobby wool, which is knit like a Latvian, and you've probably seen them because a few people had their kits. So they're a Latvian company, I think. Well, they sell kits to make Latvian mittens, and the kits are really affordable, and I really want to try to get one of those traditional Latvian mittens pattern. You know, it's the one with the black background and red roses with the green leaves, so it's a 3-color mittens, and it's a typical Latvian motif, and I really love them, and I really want to make them and get a kit for it, because I've heard that the yarn is quite good as well. And in the meantime, I've bought one of their PDF pattern, because they have a PDF pattern thing, and it's for one of their more geometric kind of mitten. Yeah, so I started. I think it is, I will link it down below, but it's not on Ravelry or anything, so I will directly link to the Etsy listing for this pattern. I think it's called the Grey collection for some reason, and it's color chart number 8, and it kind of looks like a salvo mitten actually. It has those one star in the middle, but you know, you'll see when I get there. I started them, and that's where I am. So I wanted with these mittens to try a lot of mitten technique that I haven't done yet. So this is going to be really complicated to show on these small circulars. So the patterns. So people have been saying that the patterns are not really mind-blowing from this company, and I understand, because it's I agree and understand, because it's probably translated, and I'm guessing that the instruction, oh, there's a book as well, they just released a book with all the patterns in them. I want the book. I want a kit and I want a book. I want a book. I want everything. And I have an Amazon wish list full of knitting book. It's ridiculous. And yeah, it's my birthday in a couple of months, so I'm like pushing the knitting books up the wish list. Yeah, what was I? You know, I just go on tangents and I lose track. I completely lose track. It's going to come back to me. I just need to keep trying to look for it. Yes, so they're not super well translated, and they're written in a way that is probably unusual to most Westerners. I say Westerners, I mean non-Baltic Scandinavian type of knitters. Even though I think even Skandir said that the patterns are a bit weirdly written. The English is not quite good in them. I'm saying that, but you know, if I'm saying that, it means something. It's understandable. It's just that if you're not used to knitting colorwork mittens and you feel easily put off by instructions that are that require you to look at things and figure out what they actually mean, well, yeah, I understand that it's kind of hard. And also, the instructions for the thumb, I hope that I understood them correctly. The thing is, they give weird instructions, and sometimes they seem to tell you the same thing twice differently, so you're not too sure what that means. And the thumb, for example, it's just an afterthought thumb, from what I gathered. Why don't they say it's an afterthought thumb that way in my, you know, in your head, you know, oh, okay, if I need help to make that technique, I just need to look up afterthought thumb, you know, and look for tutorials. But they don't say that. They just give these really weird instructions, and you kind of have to guess what type of construction that is. But yeah, basically they give you a chart and basic instructions, and you just gotta know how to make a mitten, which I wasn't too scared of because I have already made a couple of mittens, including the Selbu mittens from Skandir, which are really good because they gave you keys to construction, even though it's not the same. It's not the same thumb construction as these mittens. It's not, because from Skandir you just leave stitches on. It's kind of the same, but it's not exactly an afterthought. But yeah, I have in my head, and I know how a mitten work a little bit more now that I have done these Selbu mittens. So I felt confident that I would, even if I messed up a few things, I would still end up with something that looks like a mitten. That is, if I remember to move the thumb and I don't end up with two right mittens. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yes, the patterns, definitely not for beginners. If you are able to knit mittens just from a chart and from really basic, weirdly written instructions, then yes, that's okay. And they do have a ton of beautiful charts. But yeah. So I have started the cuff, and the pattern gives you, well, yeah, it says you can do like a bunch of different cuffs, and two of these were either these type of picots, they call it notches, I don't know exactly what the difference is between notches and picots, but you know, Latvian braids, and then you have a rib thing, and I decided to do both because why not. I considered placing the Latvian braid because there's a portion of colorwork here that kind of makes a flowery band, and then you start the front and the back of the mitten with the actual pattern. I considered putting the Latvian braid after that, but then when I looked at the chart, I risked, like, the pattern looks like it started not too far from the thumb, so I would have had a Latvian braid like here, which is no, it's supposed to be on the wrists. So I decided to make it at the bottom. But first I started with the picots thing, and they were really fun to make. So basically you just knit a few rows of stockinette, then you knit a row of yarn over, knit two together, you repeat, you knit the same portion of stockinette, and then you fold it, and when you fold it you end up having, well, just the knit two together sticking out, because then you have a yarn over that made a hole. I find that really fun to work. I'm not too sure I will do that for many. It's a bit girly. I like certain girly things, like I wear lace, I like flower prints, I like certain pinks, but pinks still, you know. But I feel like this and like frills, you know, those type of frills that are everywhere right now on sweaters and t-shirts. They're like things that are a bit on the childish stand. I don't mean to insult anyone, but it's just that they look a bit more Disney princess girly, you see, and that's super cute. And I wanted to try and make those, and I find that this is really cute, but it's not so much my style. But yeah, I still think they're cute. But I don't think I will do them in another pair. I kind of prefer either a ribbed cuff or a collarwork cuff, and I really like the Latvian braid. So if you don't know what a Latvian braid is, it's this thing. Basically you have a line of V's that look like a braid, and it's easy to work. It is. I did the instructions on the pattern for the Latvian braid. I don't know if I misread them, but it seemed to me like they said the opposite of every tutorial that I found on the internet. So I don't know what was that about, but I just googled and looked on YouTube Latvian braid and followed a video. It's easy to work. It just makes your yarn tangled. You can't avoid it. It tangles your yarns. But I just think it looks really fun. And I really like it, and I'll definitely use it in more mittens in the future. And so yeah, this is going to be my cuff, and it looks quite cute. I like it. And I started the colorwork chart, not a lot, so I haven't been working on them too much. And it's really nice and easy. So far, no floats to catch. I think there will be a few floats to catch on the star motif, obviously. But yeah, this is fingering weight. I am using Drops Flora, which is the wool alpaca blend, which I like from mittens. I really like. And this is the ice blue, and this is black. And I really like this combination. It's going to make very icy mittens. So as you probably can tell, I am knitting those on, well, they're 25 centimeters. So I think it's 9.5 inches. Small circulars. And I decided to knit more on small circulars because I don't mind them. I don't have like a problem with them. I'm just not too used to them, I think. And I've only ever used them to knit vanilla socks, which I think wasn't a good idea because I just got bored of it. And yeah, the fact that you have to be like this, and you need to be more aware of the way you're holding your stitches, but you're still just knitting vanilla socks, so it just bored me, I think. But I'm not especially hurting when I hold them or anything, so I thought it was a bit silly that I wasn't using them more, and I should definitely try to use them for colorwork things. So I bought a bunch for sleeves, to knit sleeves with them, especially colorwork motif sleeves, and mittens, because I'm fairly pleased with my colorwork gauge, except when I'm being silly and using fingering weight instead of DK, you know. when I'm knitting in the round, basically. My colorwork gauge, I'm pretty happy with it. With the right yarn, it's yeah, I find it really, really good. But small circumference, like socks and mittens, since I was magic looping, it just wasn't right. I was tighter, I had awful edges, so I was pretty unsatisfied with it. So I decided that I will stop being silly and that I will use small circulars because they're made for it. I will be able to knit colorwork in the round, and that's great. And it's working really, really well. My tension is fairly good. Like I said, the Flora yarn, the Drops Flora, is pretty good for colorwork. It works really well. And yeah, one thing though is I like to knit colorwork two-handed. I can't do this on the small circulars. I'm slow and it's not comfortable. I guess it's not easy for me to manage two-handed colorwork and at the same time adapt to the small circular. So I've just been knitting these, switching the yarns with my right hand because I'm an English style knitter, and I've been noticing that I'm pretty fast like this. Actually, it's fine, you know, even if I sort of drop the yarn every time. Well, I'm pretty fast knitting like this, much faster than trying to do two-hand on these needles. So that's been working just fine. Also deletes a potential tension issue that I might have because my left hand is not as comfortable as my right hand. But yeah, Latvian mittens on the go in April. But you know, they're like socks and shawls and fingering weight sweaters. They're like light projects, so why not knit them in the summer and spring? So yeah, that's all I've been knitting on this week. This and a project that I'm not showing you because it will be on the project focus video. And yeah, I have a few new cast-ons I love, and I can't wait to get working on them. Oh my god. Yeah. You know, rust is one of my favorite colors. It is my favorite color, I think, with teal and sort of terracotta dusty pink, but yeah, rust is definitely on top of that. And so let me explain to you what this is. This is Filcolana, which is a Danish brand, but I think that they mill outside of Denmark. It's in one of the Baltic countries. I don't remember, but it is a Danish brand, and it's 100% Gotland. Why did I say Gotland? Gotland. The name of the yarn is Gotlandsk Pelsuld. And it's DK weight yarn, and the Gotland sheep are silvery and black and thing. And so these yarn have sort of a metallic look to them. When you look at them, you can see that they have bits of like dark metallic black, and it fits so well with that rust color. I'm just I love it so much. I wanted the rust sweater. I don't have any because it's really hard to find the perfect one. Sometimes I'm afraid they're too orange or too red or too brown. This is the one. This is what I like. This is the color that's gold for me. It's such a beautiful natural yarn. It's on the rustic side, definitely. It's one of the true rustic yarns, you know. A bit more than Holtzgarn, for example, which is soft. To me, Holtzgarn is soft. But yeah, it's still not scratchy. Like, to me, I won't make a shawl out of it, obviously, but I'm going to make a sweater, and it's not going to eat me. And it's not even washed, so I it's pretty light for a decay weight. It has 270 meters to 100 grams, so that's great. And it's also super affordable. Love it, I love it. And they have so many beautiful colors. But yeah, this here. This is color 179. It was called Rust. Well, Rouille, because I bought it on Laine des Îles, which is the amazing French online yarn shop that ships worldwide, and I have absolutely gorgeous yarns. And so yeah, so this is like Rust. I'm guessing it really blooms when you wash it, and it should look absolutely stunning in colorwork. Another yarn to check for colorwork designs, and there's a lot of decay sweaters around, so I think this is good, and I'm so happy with my new discovery. The plan is to make rotu. I'm sorry, it's a pattern from Fiber Tales, so Lerge. I really hope I said that right. I've been playing your podcast, the beginning of your podcast, on repeat just to understand how you pronounce your name. But yeah, Lerge. The lovely person behind the Fiber Tales podcast, which is the best podcast in the world right now. I'm just obsessed with her. Please put up more episodes. I really like the mood and everything that she does. Completely fangirling here. But yeah, Lurke has a couple of designs out there, and they're all really beautiful and really unique. And when she published the Roture, which I couldn't find you pronouncing it, so I tried. When she published it, I just fell in love with it instantly. It's like this really graphic yoke, which is this brioche yoke, and it's so beautiful, and so I really like it. She really has a special touch in her designs. Like she's a real inspiration because she has such a defined style and something that is really gentle and precise and so impressive, because she started designing not so long ago, so she's really good. She's a genius. And this sweater I loved, and I've been thinking about it since she released it, and I finally got around to get some yarn for it, and this is going to be my main color, and I'm going to use a cream as a contrast. Obviously Gotland sheep are grey, so they don't have cream, but I got some cream Ullcentrum, which it's sport, but it's kind of similar, and I think it's going to work just fine. I can't wait to make it. Yeah, and for her roture, I have no idea how to say that. I'm guessing it's that O with the. I'm not sure. For that sweater, she used the beautiful yarn from her parents' sheep farm, which are Gotland sheep as well, I think. Yes. And it's just such a lovely story that she has with that sweater, and I kind of want that yarn, but it makes it really precious. She used a really special yarn. So that's it for this week's episode. It was a bit shorter and all over the place, like every week, Audrey, so really you should just stop. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a happy day, night and week, and I will see you next time.